Boom. So, hello, welcome everybody to this talk, this part of the Art of the Wood series. We have a great guest, Mr. Gabriel, the Hoyos, the repairman of the city of Dallas, Fort Worth, and beyond. He has done an incredible work in personally my guitars, and he's going to be giving our community some insights and some tips on how to take care of their instruments, machines that he uses, techniques that he uses, studies that he does. He's going to be talking all about that. Gabriel, thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate you jumping in and giving us all these tips to the community.
Cool, man. Well, those are very kind words. I appreciate it. But there's other luthiers on this call. I mean, they're equally and more skilled than I. It's I was reading a book. Actually, I listen to a lot of audios when I'm working. Maybe other guys do too. But I find I put books on tape, audiobooks. Anyway, so they were talking about the imposter syndrome. And it's when you're like, you're successful, you know what you're doing, but you still kind of feel like, oh man, like maybe that's not me. But I think it's a good thing because it keeps you on your toes. It keeps you honest. It keeps you working and striving. Okay, so I got some notes. I'll tell you guys about my story a little bit. I'm originally from Houston. I moved to North Texas to go to UNT when I was 2000, 2001, just right around there. I was a jazzer. And then I went to North Texas and quickly realized that I was in over my head. So anyways, I got a guitar performance degree from there. And then I was studying with Bob over at SMU, just private lessons. And he said, hey, you should go to school here. And I was like, hey, have you seen the price tag? But I got, full ride out there. I had a teaching fellowship and good stuff. Got a master's in education as well. So actually, man, my day gig, I teach elementary school music. And I intentionally chose that because it allows me to work in my shop as well. So how I got into guitar repair restoration, it was when I moved to Dallas, there's people that worked on guitars, right? But I wanted somebody that took the same level of passion and skill that they took playing guitar, but fixing guitars. So when I finished Southern Methodist, I did not want to touch a guitar anymore. Like it was work. Like I didn't enjoy practicing. It was really sad. But I did decide when I was there to start repairing guitars a little bit. I'd always kind of tinkered, but there's a difference between tinkering and doing. And over time, man, I kind of made a decisions to, I was a performer at a high level. I was a scholar at a high level, and I wanted to be a repair luthier at a high level. So I take that drive that I had for playing the guitar, and I just do it in this arena now. So that's kind of how I got going on that. Did you want me to dive into my old days when I was at my apartment and stuff, and why people actually trusted me? Okay, dude, I'll tell you about that.
I think that is super important.
I think that is super important. Freaking guitars, though. I don't know what was wrong with them. So if you knew me from back in the day, man, I started working on guitars on my kitchen table. So I had this. Everybody has one, man. These Target furniture. It's like a table with 4 chairs. I think it was 2 chairs. It had wings, and it would open up, and it had 2 chairs. Anyways, man, so the chairs got smushed over time, and I still had that table. So I gotten fired from a music school that I taught at for 7 years. And I was in the library the next day at SMU. And I was kind of going between emotions of anger and sadness because I got canned. And I thought about it. It's like, this is prime time, man. I got no responsibilities. I'm in school. I'm gonna do this. So I bought all these broken guitars, and I found all these books, the standards everybody knows, and YouTube videos and whatnot. And I started practicing fixing cracks and all kinds of stuff. And really, it was French polishing that I was gonna do first. So I took a woodcraft class on French polishing, and then it really teach you anything. So I started practicing, man. You just the guys know how to do it. You do it enough, and you start to figure it out. And over time, I needed a guitar to practice on that had French polish, and so I bought a guitar. It was a concert guitar, an Antonio Raya Pardo, man, a spruce Brazilian, really, really nice Granada instrument. And I stripped all the finish off of it, which is either the ballsiest move or the stupidest move. Um, but anyways, man, so the finish is off the guitar, and I had to learn how to French polish it. So that's what I French polished, man. I did that, I don't know, 5 or 6 times. And then Guthrie saw it one day and he's like, "Hey, when'd you get a new guitar?" And I said, "I didn't, man. This is that Raya you saw, a year and a half ago that was all terrible looking." And he was like, "Cool, who French polished it?" And I was like, "I did." And he was like, "You want to do one of mine?" I was like, "Yeah." And so that's where I started, man. So I guess that's the me story.
Yeah, that is
Uh
amazing. That is amazing. That is a great
yeah.
story that I love. For those of you who don't know, Mr. Robert Guthrie is it's a professor here in Dallas at the Southern Methodist University, and he's a very respected guitarist. So receive a commission to have a guitar repaired by Robert Guthrie to Gabriel is a great honor. I'm guessing that you feel that way, Gabriel.
Oh yeah, no, Bob's great, man. Mr. Guthrie, he's a local legend. And Bob, he was professor at Yale. He was professor at Boston Conservatory. He's professor at SMU. I mean, he was a direct student of Segovia. And it's funny because he actually claims Ilario Diaz more. I mean, the guy's a phenomenon. I mean, like he's like my grandfather. But yeah, he is. For him to hand over one of his guitars and almost everyone after, it's definitely an honor.
That's awesome.
Abraham wanted me to talk about humidifiers. Okay,
Yeah,
so
we have a question in the chat that it
yes, sir.
says, "Is that my Raya Pardo in the back?" From
That's right,
Eliza. Sorry.
Eliza. Oh, yes, I love that guitar so much, so much.
So
So
she's
yeah, you know who asks me about it all the time is Carlo, because that guitar. Okay? I'm going to tell you the story of Eliza's Raya Pardo, because that is a very special guitar. Eliza, I don't know if you know the story about your guitar. You want to know its history, how it ended up in your hands? I'm going to take it as a yes. She didn't say no. Okay, which is no, no, no. Anyway, so her Raya, man. So I was studying I was at SMU, and I'm from Houston. So I go down to Houston, Ron Hudson's shop, Memorial Music, and I was going to go buy a Francisco Navarro. Man, I had like $1,500 in my pocket. I could get a Francisco Navarro, throw a pickup on it, and that's my working guitar, man. Everybody's like, why do you want to play a Raya Pardo, not a Raya Pardo, Francisco Navarro at a gig? And it's like, you want to play Arboretum with your concert guitar? I don't want to play outside of my concert guitar. So I go down there, and so Ron hears me playing, and he's like, "Hey, dude, this guitar just showed up. You want to play it?" And I was like, "All right, absolutely." So he brings it over, and I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I start playing it, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" So I play it some more, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" And you guys know what I'm talking about. That feeling where you're like, "I gotta have this instrument. Like, I don't know how I'm gonna do it. I gotta have this instrument." So I asked him what he wanted for it, and we go back and forth, and it was more than what I had. So I said, "Okay, man, I appreciate it." Okay, so I come back to Dallas. I tell Guthrie about it, and Guthrie's like, "Yeah, man, that's a solid guitar. If you can work out a deal, you should buy it." Robert Guthrie bumps into Carlo Pesamenti, who's professor at Brookhaven at Texas Women's University, and another local legend, direct student of Segovia. He played at the Vatican last year. I mean, that level of guitarist. And Carlo tells Guthrie, he's like, "Hey, just in case, I don't know why you would know, but my student in Houston lost his guitar. It got stolen, and it's an Antonio Raya Pardo." And Bob's like, "Well, wait, in Houston?" And they're like, "Yeah." So they get in touch with me, and they're like, "Hey, where did you see that guitar? Because the guitar was listed stolen." And so I told him. Anyways, man, the short of the long is, the owner of that guitar, his son had a little bit of an addiction problem and sold all of his father's high-end guitars, right? So at the end of the day, the father ended up buying all of his instruments back, and that was the end of it. So I had already put the word out. Hey, wherever this guitar ends up, whoever ends up owning it, can they get back to me? Maybe I can work something out. So if a month or two go by, and I get a phone call, and this guy down in Houston, he's like, "Hey, man, I got the guitar, but it's going to cost a lot." And I say, "Well, I get it, dude. I know you got a lot of money in it, but I don't." And we work out a deal where I get some cash, and I trade him a real nice electric guitar. And that's how I ended up with the Raya, or Eliza's Raya now. So, and then that's the one I did all the restoration on. So next time you're in Dallas, Eliza, bring it over. I want to say hello to it, please.
And another very interesting topic that I would like for you to talk are two things. One is your incredible knowledge on Ramirez guitars. That is just insane. And the second one is the ethics of a repairman that we were talking the other day. So just a little bit of a preparation. Gabriel got an incredible guitar in his shop, and I asked him, "Are you going to make that incredible guitar that is incredibly expensive look like new? So are you gonna put all this clean and bright French polish?" And he said, "No. Me as a repairman, I cannot do that because I have to have ethics as a repairman." But can you explain a little bit more on that, Mr. Gabriel, on that story?
Yeah. Okay, ethics as a repairman. It's like a loaded question. Do no harm. I think, you know, the same with the Hippocratic Oath is that what the doctors do. You know, like if I've gotten better at saying no, and I think that's important. You know, you got to say no a lot. And what I mean by that is people are like, "Hey, can you do this? Hey, can you do that?" And it's like, "Well, it's possible, but you know, probably not." The guitar in question was a Friedrich. So this Friedrich shows up on my doorstep, and man, I mean, good geez. Anyway, so I got a Daniel Friedrich on my bench. Okay, so I'm looking at him, studying it, and the owner is you know, a good player, nice person. He said, "Hey, you know, this guitar is real beat up looking, this and that. You know, can we make it nice?" And I said, "Look, out of respect for the instrument, this is the story of the guitar. The guitar is an 85 or 89 or something, but it had been played. It looked like somebody had got a pick to it a little bit. It had a crack here and there. It had several layers of different colors of shellac on the top." And I said, you know, mostly, I said, you know, I would work on the playability of it. You know, spline, if you need a spline here and there, check all the bracing on it. And I said, what I want to do is reverse as many of the repairs as I can. So not do more than what's there, but remove what's been done. And then once all that's mostly uniform, if I can get some bare wood, I take care of, you know, some steaming a dent here and there possibly. I said, but mostly it's just preservation of the instrument. We're going to shine it up, make it look nice, play like, you know, nobody's business. And then prepare for another 30, 50 years until you're finished with it and you pass it on to somebody else. Okay. Is that good, Abraham?
That was amazing.
Or
Yeah, very
somebody else?
good.
You know,
Very, very good.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. I'm supposed to talk about guitar cases. There's a lot of good ones, man. I 10, 15% the value of your instrument. I mean, I think that's good, 20% possibly. Um, so, you know, you don't need $1,000 case for a $500 guitar, you know. But really, there's a lot of solid options out there, you know, like any of the big brands that can take care of it. Like I've never had a guitar case come in broken that was any better. I mean, don't get an SKB. I mean, the SKBs are junk. But if you got a BAM, a nice high end one of those Metros, the Hiscox, I mean, they're a different shape, whatever. The Vice Nuts, Vista Nuts. I mean, ask Aaron about those. I don't even know how to say them. They're such awesome cases. You know, the Accords, any of that stuff. Those are all solid, man. And I think the big thing would be is a soft case. So if you have an acoustic instrument, and if you're going to go with a soft case, Reunion Blues is a good option. It's like a hybrid soft case. It has like a soft core, and then there's like a real hard layer on the outside. It's like a fabric or something. And that's for gigging around town and stuff. But if you're going to sling it on your shoulder, man, get one of those cases you can sling on a shoulder. The other thing was, you know, give it feet. That's a good idea. I remember like, you know, always give it feet. So if you lay your guitar leaning up like this is the worst way to lay it, because where's gravity? Gravity's like that, or gravity's like that. So I do get a lot of broken guitar necks that were dropped in good cases that could have been prevented if they were just laid down. So yeah. Okay, what else do we have on this list?
The
Uh,
humidifiers. Okay,
oh yeah,
we
man.
got a lot of questions on the Instagram page of how to take care of your guitar with the humidity.
Yeah, just some general maintenance, I guess. Where I think the first thing to do is, yeah, get a humidifier, man. Like one of the digital ones that reads, like on Amazon. You don't have to go super high end, but if you're gonna, the reason I say that is I had a humidifier and then I bought another humidifier and they were both giving me different readings of humidity. And then I checked, one was actually a calibrated one and the other one was not calibrated. So if you really got to be pretty specific about it, you get you a calibrated one. Um, but ask some of the other luthiers. If you're in a range 40-45%, you're okay. And if it goes below, I'd rather be over humidified than under humidified. And it takes a little bit of time for the instrument to dry out. I mean, there's a rapid drop in humidity, like the heat kicks on and the guitar is next to one of those pipes, and it gets real hot. Yeah, it'll crack open. Mitch Bavarica's guitar that happened to when he was at Cleveland Institute. I remember he would tell me that story that he said it was like in the dead of winter, it was like snowing outside, and he was practicing guitar, and he put down his brand new Brazilian rosewood Rosas at that time next to, they have those old radiator pipe heater things, and he said put it there, and he walked his girlfriend out to the car, right, and he walked back up, and he said it might have been 20 minutes round trip, and he said the humidity had dropped so much from across the room I could see light through the guitar where it just cracked the back. So yeah, I mean, but that's like an extreme example. Mostly what I see is guitars that I know, guitars that I've worked on, that I know that they've been on my bench a lot. A few of them have come in within the last few weeks, and I run my hand across the neck and I can feel the frets sticking out. And I'm like, hey man, you guys running a humidifier? Ooh, I got a humidifier going all the time. I got one in my case. And I'm like, bro, your frets are sticking out, man. So if you can feel your fret ends, kind of sticking out, that means the fingerboard has started to shrink. And so that's not going to happen overnight. That's kind of an extended thing. So if you have a case, that's the easiest area to humidify. It's easier to humidify a small environment than a whole room. So, I recommend people leave the guitars in the case, or make sure you got a damn good humidification system. I mean, I got guitars out, but my walls are filled with spray foam closed cell insulation. Like this room is built to control humidity. And I know Aaron shops the same way, and that's freaking awesome, man. Like, good job on that, dude. Like I daydream about your shop. Like one day when I grow up, I'm gonna have a shop like Aaron's. It's pretty cool. So yeah, humidity. As for humidifiers, I don't really like the little water hose that dangles in there. I forget what it's called, but it's like a little green tube, and it has like holes in it. Basically, it's a rubber thing with a sponge.
It's made
Um,
out of Oasis, is the brand, right?
No, that's another one. The Oasis ones are good. Okay, so while I'm talking about Oasis ones, that powdery stuff that's in there, do not get that on your French polish. I've had a couple guys come in where that stuff dribbles on there. They fill it up, they put the cap on, but they maybe over tight or under tight, and then they have their guitar in the case or that thing sticking out, and it dribbles, that water on the soundboard. And I've had a couple of guitars I've had to touch up French polish on because of that. So make sure those seal up well. The humidifier, the water hose one, I think it's called a damp it. It's okay, but it doesn't really do anything. There's not enough sponge to hold the humidity, and then sometimes people just have them too wet and it just lays there. I actually like the Humipacks things, the Diodario system. It's a two-way humidifier. It's really good. And a cool trick with those is you can rehydrate them, because once they dry out, they get kind of crumbly hard on the inside. If they actually get crumbly hard, you got to toss it, dude. You can't do nothing about it. But when it starts to dry out and get a little firm or viscous, if you would say viscous kind of, you can just put it in another bag with a humidity source, like a wet paper towel or something, and it will suck the humidity off of that and like recharge itself. So I'm cheap. So I do that sometimes.
What do you think about the good old trick with the sponge, the wet
Bro, you know how
sponge,
many
and the
sponge and
Ziploc
Ziplocs I
bag?
have? Like my freaking shop is full of sponges and Ziplocs. Man, I don't even go sponges, dude. I get a wad of paper towel, wring it out, throw it in a Ziploc bag, uh, which it works. So I said that all that to be said, when I poo-pooed that before. Yeah, it actually works as well. You got to be careful because you're sticking a wet paper towel on a guitar. So I'm not telling you to do that. Okay, hit me the other one, please. Chuck.
The other one that we were talking was you have just like Ivan was speaking about this in his last talk. He was saying, for me, one of the most important things when I'm building a guitar is the playability, like how comfortable that the guitar is going to be playing. And I know that you and Ivan are good friends, and it's something that you also believe at, and it's something that you strongly believe on, that the guitar has to play nicely. And then there are different setups depending on the age groups that are going to be playing a guitar. So a guitar for a 16-year-old might not be the best setup for somebody that is like 60 or in his 70s years.
Gotcha. Yeah, playability is huge. It's like what makes a guitar playable. Uh, or set my guitar up. I get that a lot. Hey, set my guitar up. How? Well, I don't do a setup. Okay, how? I think I was talking to Chuck. Chuck's in my shop a lot. Uh, so Chuck and I work together. So I got two guys that work with me, man. So one dude, he went to Roberto Vin and he worked at Collings for years. Good dude. He knows his ways around guitars. And Mr. Chuck Allred. So he's been kicking rocks around the shop. So I'm really appreciative. He's a good friend of mine, and it's really nice that I get to share a shop with a good friend of mine. We were both at UNT and SMU around the same times, and the same circle of friends and stuff. So tell him hello. As for playability, I think we should look at how a guitar plays and feels like what a tailor does to clothing, or a haberdasher, if you would. Um, if I was to take my clothes to a tailor, and then somebody was a lot taller than me puts on my pants, and they're like, "Oh, these pants are terrible. Look how stupid short they are." And it's like, well, yeah, bro, like they don't fit you, man. Like those are my pants. And that's how your guitar should be. Your guitar should be set up for your hands. Okay. So if somebody picks up your guitar and they start beating on it, like your guitar is buzzing all over the place, it's like, no, I don't play it the way you play it. And I was talking to Abraham earlier on YouTube. Irina Kalikova, was that her name? That GFA lady? I think it was.
Yeah, Irina Kulnikova.
Yeah, she's amazing. I mean, phenomenal guitarist. Anyways, she talked about her action, and it was like 4.5 millimeters, which for some that's really high action, and I guess for her it's perfect. Just for a frame of reference, those 1960 era Ramirez guitars that were 664, 54 millimeter nut, they were made to run 4.5 millimeters. I mean, those were big boy guitars. And so her guitars run in that action. I got guys that want their classical guitars to run at 275. So 275, like they want their 6-string red at 2.75 millimeters, which is unheard of. So in order to make them run like that, you got to change the geometry of the fingerboard to the bridge. So the only way to do that is changing fingerboards out or neck resets or whatever. So when someone starts talking about, I want my action lower or I want my action higher, there's a lot that goes into that. So I think the first question would really be, can I see you play? And if you've been to my shop, there's a chair, and I'm like, literally, hey, just kind of just play for me a bit, kind of get an idea. So if I see somebody that really likes to drive their instrument, really likes to push it, I like to drive my instrument, I like to push it, I like a little bit higher action. And if they're a real gentle player, they can lower their action. That's also cool. Now, it's a little bit if you go too low in the action, you start to lose energy. So a taller saddle, think about a violin or a bass or any of the string instruments. Look how big that bridge is. I mean, it's way up there. So a taller saddle is going to put more downward pressure at the on the string. I mean, the strings put more downward pressure on the saddle. More energy gets transferred to the top. More energy to sound. So when you get a shorter saddle, you have less pressure or tension. I mean, any of the luthier guys here can correct me because I'm pretty sure I'm wrong. But there's less energy in the sound because there's less energy being pressed down because there's not enough tension. Um, so that's that. And as for things that go into it, action at the nut is the same thing. If you're a big open string player, you're going to need to have a higher action. Now you can go lower action at the nut, but this is a good check. So sometimes people ask, what is a back buzz? Here's a back buzz. Say you're fretting a bar at the 5th fret, 7th fret, and you hear this real light little kind of sound, and it's happening at the nut. It's because the nut is actually a little bit too low, and that string is buzzing on the 1st fret. So that's what a back buzz is. So you need to have it low enough where you don't get a back buzz or buzz open string, but tall enough where you can push it. And that number is different for everybody. More on that, or did I ramble?
I think we're good on that topic right there.
Cool.
I think if anybody's having an issue with their setup or want to know a little bit more about that, they should come and check your shop out, and you can help them with anything that they need on setting up their guitar. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, for sure. So I guess about me or about my shop. I mean, dude, my shop's little, man. It's 200 square feet. Like people come over, those a lot bigger. I never said it was bigger. So there's limited space, but I do have a lot of stuff. You know, I mean, I can kind of like spin the camera. Let me see. Oh, look, a guitarone right there. That bajo sexto. Where's that thing? Oh my gosh. That thing is I was literally inside of it. Chuck was inside of it the other day. I was dude up to my shoulder deep in that bad boy this morning. Yesterday I made another brace for the center. Is missing this huge center brace. So I made that, and then the playability of the saddle was like 9 millimeters. I mean, at the end of the fret was ridiculous. So I made playing the fingerboard off, and I made a new fingerboard for with the proper angle. So that'll be tomorrow's project, finishing that up. But I mean, there's like wood up there, it's messy. Oh, the shop dog. That's important. You got to have a shop dog. She got a new collar today. And so is my buffer. I got guitar stored up there. Let's see, it's me. I got my dirty old sink, stack of amps. This is my fretting station. So I built this bench several inches shorter so I can fit my fretting jigs on top. And then those 2 boxes right there are everything that I need for steaming and pulling necks with electro, like this new electric system thing, all my fretting stuff and doohickey things. And then there's that corner. I mean, so there's not much going on here, man. So it's a game of making the best use of my space.
And you are not only a repairman, from what I heard and seen, you also run a guitar commission center shop.
Yeah, man, I got a full-on racket. So I jest, but no, I really do. I find myself on all sides of the guitars. I sell amplifier. I mean, pretty much if it's of value and is music related, and I think I can market it and sell it, it gets sold. I mean, there's sometimes I get 500 series recording gear. You know, their mics come through and that kind of stuff. And I'm a bit of a hoarder, so you know, if you got something nice, you know, that stack of amps you saw, every single one of them was traded for work. So I like stuffs, and you know, I enjoy getting things. So I do that, barter, I guess you call it. No, man, but I buy, sell, and consign guitars. You know, a lot of concert instruments. I usually have, you know, a decent number, mostly Spanish style instruments. I'm not a fan. It's not that I'm not a fan. If I don't play an instrument or think that my clientele would have it, then I represent them sometimes, but most of my people are looking for they're old guys is who they are. So they like the traditional Spanish brace. And so that's what I have. But if you want to sell a guitar, then yeah, man, you call me up, hey, I kind of list a guitar with you. And so we'll shoot a video of it, take some pictures, nice sound recording, I put Neumann microphones and Heritage preamps and all that good stuff and get some guy to come, play it really well. And, try to, beat the bushes and see what we can come up with. But I'm an actual LLC, limited liability corporation, licensed, insured, and all that good stuff. So yeah, that's me.
We have a
racket.
question from Sean, and he is asking, what is the best way for me to contact you if I need any guitar repair maintenance in the future? Do you have a phone number or an email?
Yeah, I'll type it in the chat. I'll give you my cell number. Hang on. But gabrielsguitarrepair.com. So let me see. I'll give you my cell number.
And Gabriel, you want to talk a little bit that you are not only a repairman on classical guitar, as we can see on the background, that you do pretty much anything that the guitar instrument has to need.
Yeah, I do. Let's see. Before I forget, okay, I also have a YouTube channel. That's right. Where I do. There's probably about 50 guitar videos on there. I mean, because man, there's there's Fletas and Hausers and freaking guitars like this, like that. I'm spoiled. I mean, I saw like 2 Fletas this year. It's pretty cool. That they come through, and those things I like to see them, but I also like to hear them. And so when I record an instrument for my YouTube page, it's not so much that I'm trying to sell a guitar or whatever, because sometimes I am. It's also, I want a library of sounds, if that makes sense. So that's my approach for my YouTube videos is, what does this guitar really sound like? I don't want a bunch of compression. I don't want tons of reverb. I don't want all this junk added to the sound. I want to put a Neumann microphone in stereo and run it and hear exactly what that guitar sounds like. So if you want to hear that, go to my YouTube page. If you want like nice studio produced stuff, it's in my shop, man. Like, it's rough, but it sounds good. What was my question? I didn't answer.
We have another question from Eliza. I know Eliza is looking for guitar microphones, like good microphones to record for guitar. So she's very interested in this topic. She's saying, you're still using the Neumann KM184, and how are they going for you?
Okay, yeah, I got that chat pulled up. Eliza, they're awesome. I have 2 sets of Neumanns that I run, or Neumanns or Neumanns, I don't know what they're called. I think the first thing is decide where you're going to be recording it. Like, is this for, because if you're recording in a concert hall only, then you want a different pattern of microphone. I think the best bet, one, is to get a cardioid pattern. And the reason you want to go cardioid, because it's going to pick up from the front of the microphone, but reject most of what's behind it. Now, if you're recording, like if you've been to my shop, I mean, I put up like sound panels and all kinds of junk around me on the floor. And so I try to have like the most driest sound ever. The omnidirectional is not a good choice. An omnidirectional picks up everything around, and it's like a big circle of sound around it. So it's going to pick up that, thing ticking over there in the corner. So that's not your best bet. The other thing would be room treatments. Make sure there's a difference between sound panels. Like, you would have to have a sound panel feet thick to actually stop sound. So that egg crate stuff you see doesn't do anything. The best thing is moving blankets. Furniture in a room is not going to do anything. You go to Harbor Freight and spend like $10, and you get like this 12 by 12 piece of cloth. Buy a couple of those and throw them everywhere, hang them. And as for microphones, I got a KM184, which is the large diaphragm condenser, and it is amazing. And then I have a matched pair of Neumann 18K, what are the pencil mics, 183s or something? No, 184s are the pencils. 109, what is it, dude?
I
Give
have
me
no idea of microphones, but
184.
Sebastian
What's the other one,
Rosicki
bro?
is
What's
the
the
expert on recording, and he's actually on our
Sebastian, what's that?
chat.
What's that small diaphragm condenser, dude?
He's
Not the
putting he's
The
putting
small ones are
the
the
103.
184s. Yeah. The large
Yeah,
one's 103.
yeah, boss. Okay, those are it, man. I run a 184 and a 103. And what I do, I put the large diaphragm on the 12th fret, and I put the small one pointed towards the sound, that more towards the bridge of the instrument. So you get some wood. You don't want to put like straight in the sound hole, dude. Like that's the worst place to point your mic. Um, Ribbons are wonderful. I just can't have ribbons in my shop because my shop is terrible. So you got to think about the room that you're in. If you can control your environment, then you can get really nice mic. There's a lot of different choices. Now, just because you have a nice microphone, you're still missing a very expensive piece, and that's your preamp. So if you got a budget for $1,500, right? So say I got a $1,500 budget for a microphone and preamp, I would probably go with one mic, and I would probably go in the used market. And either one of those, the 103, which is a large diaphragm, it's a single mic, or the 184, I would probably go with the 184s. And here's why: it's a more useful set. I got my set used for like 900 bucks, so you can find them out there. And then a preamp, the preamp drives the microphone. So if you don't have something good sounding driving the mic, then don't buy an expensive microphone because you're not taking full advantage of the mic. Those Focusrites to convert the sound, I use one of those, but I use it to convert just analog to digital and vice versa. That's all I use it for. So my signal chain is microphone, heritage preamp to a Focusrite into Logic. So that's my signal chain.
Gabriel, I think that is very, very interesting. I hope that solve Eliza's question, but let's try to redirect the conversation again to guitar care for everybody that is in here. What are some of the things that you will say are key elements for people that if they have those things on their guitar, they should come visit you or visit any of the other luthiers that are available in the area? What are some red flags for people to take care of?
Treat your guitar like it's a baby. So when I was in school, I was in like string methods or something, and like I don't know, they checked out like a cello or something to me. So I got this big cello, and I'm like, what the heck am I gonna do with this thing? So I remember like the teacher, she gave like a little blurb, as she said, think of this instrument as a baby. Would you leave a baby in a hot car? No. Would you leave it outside in the cold? No. Would you leave it unattended? No. So that kind of thing. I occasionally get a guitar. I call it a hairy guitar, and it's where somebody forgets their guitar because they ran into the gas station to get something and it took forever or whatever, and the guitar gets hot, and the French polish, the shellac melts and kind of attaches to the case, and they pull it out, and it's kind of fuzzy. So don't let your guitar get hot. I mean, hanging in front of a window is not a good idea either. If the shades are pulled, I mean that's one thing, but I remember one year this bridge popped off, and the lady was like, yeah, I just had it by the window. And I said, well, I mean, is it possible that the window kind of like reflected and like a ray of light, like focused? And she was like, yeah, it actually would make a lot of sense. And so that kind of thing, just kind of keep it humidified. As for cleaning it, a good microfiber cloth, you don't need, oh my gosh, okay. So a good microfiber cloth is one. You don't want to use like a cotton rag, cotton scratches. It doesn't have to be a super high-end chamois cloth or anything like that. I mean, I go to Costco, and now those big packs of 48 of the microfiber cloths, and I go through them. but something of that quality, just a regular old good microfiber cloth. As for cleaning your instrument, I've heard water, I've heard Windex, I've heard Morphe's oil, all these crazy things. Really, probably never water direct. Yes and no. It's just most finishes don't like water, so that's not what I would go with. If it's a lacquer finish, and it's a lacquer finish, a real good one for that is preservation polish. StuMac sells it, but it only comes in a really big size. Another one would be the Martin guitar polish is a real good one. And believe it or not, the Gibson guitar polish, there's two kinds of the Gibson, not the, you want to go the vintage Gibson guitar polish, or the Martin guitar polish. Either one of those are really good for a lacquered finish. If it's like an electric guitar, sometimes those things have polyester finishes or UV finishes on them. I mean, you can clean those things with gasoline. You can't do anything with them. Don't clean them with gasoline. But I mean, pretty much they're impervious to stuff. So any guitar polish would be fine. Now, when you get to shellac finishes, shellac is French polish. So when you say my guitar is French polished, that's a process of applying shellac. So you should say your guitar is shellacked. But it is French polished if it's applied in that process. You can spray it or whatever. The other you gotta be more careful with, nothing solvent based. French polish or shellac, it dissolves with grain alcohol. So I used to use Belcol. Belcol is still okay. But for the pandemic, I ended up buying like 5 gallons of alcohol of what is it called? The one you drink, of 190. So I got a lot of it. So that's what I use now. I do a little guitar polish and take a swig out the squirt bottle. I don't, but it's grain alcohol, man. It's what you drink in college. So that stuff dissolves shellac. So with that, preservation polish is also really good. Or even that Martin, man, like the Martin polish is okay with that. You just a couple of spritz on your microfiber, a quick wipe down, flip it over on the dry side, wipe it off, and you're good. A good yearly maintenance thing for your fingerboard would be to clean it. There's different ways. The most invasive way is I would say just take it to a guitar tech. I mean, or a luthier or whatever. Take it to any one of us that's on the call. Once a year, I recommend doing this. Is you take your instrument and you're going to hit the fingerboard with steel wool, a very fine steel wool, and naphtha. Not a maple board. This is not for maple boards. With steel wool and naphtha. And what it's going to do, the naphtha is like basically it's lighter fluid. It's going to clean the fingerboard, and the steel wool is going to scrub it and kind of get like a little bit of the gunk and finger grossness out of it. And then you wipe that down, but it's steel wool and it's going to get everywhere. So you got to run a vacuum when you're doing it. And then come back with a good oil and oil your board. When I do setups in when I do setups, it's a setup that I offer. There's different kinds of setups. There's like the most basic that's like, just lower my action. But, most guys like to include this in the process. And so when I do that is I scrub the fingerboard, I hit it with steel wool and naphtha to clean it out. And then after that, I take it to the buffing wheel. I follow the papers. And then I go to the buffing wheel and I shine those frets up like nobody's business. The board gets nice and polished, and you come back and hit it with some oil. And that's a good once a year maintenance, because if your fingerboard is gross and dirty and you put a brand new set of strings on and you're running a nice new string into your dirty, gross fingerboard, you're going to ruin those set of strings real quick. And it's just gross to play on a dirty guitar. Like when a guitar comes in so nasty like that, like I charge them more. And I'm like, dude, if I got to take a razor blade and scratch you off of it, you're going to get bench time.
I know that we have a member here that has to deal with 150 high school students. So what would be a good advice that you give to taking care of 100, or like a routine that you will tell those kids, okay, kids, listen, we need to really take care of these instruments, even though they are Yamaha C40s or whatever they are. we need to teach them how to clean them. So what would be a routine that you will say, okay, this is very important, we need to implement?
So I have a classroom set of guitars, and those strings, unfortunately, are like, I don't know, 5 years old. Somebody wants to send me some strings, you're more than welcome to. And I keep them running, man. Like when they pop, I replace them. One is wash your hands. So like my students know when we're going to do guitar, you got to go down the hall, wash your hands, and come back. And sanitizer does not equal washing your hands. Because if you start, with dirty hands and you touch a nice clean guitar, then that's it. And plus, it's gross. So the hand washing and then wiping down. Maybe keep a microfiber in the case, and when they're done, just clean them up, on the strings, and we're good. And you can also on those instruments, man, like believe it or not, I probably would say, a tiny on the strings, alcohol will clean them, just alcohol, run them up and down. But if everybody's like touching on them, I might add, a very small amount of bleach, like a, 0.5 solution to it, just to keep it hygienic. Like, don't get on the finish. I mean, but they're student Yamaha guitars. Yeah, I do that. Let's see. Questions? Scare everybody
Awesome.
away.
If anybody has any question that you want to ask Gabriel about any questions that you might have about taking care of your instrument, or repairment or repairs that you want,
Hey, Abraham.
instrument. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just had a quick comment. This is some really good insights, Gabe. I was just gonna say about the humidity, about caring for the guitar. The weird thing about Texas is that the humidity fluctuates so quickly, sometimes overnight. Like you might have 75% and the next day it's 35, just overnight. So the humidifier, I use a dehumidifier as well. So in the summer, it'll be like 90%, right, Gabe? Like 95%.
Yeah, man. You're right, dude.
So I have a dehumidifier. It's a little bit more expensive than the humidifier, but like Gabe said, in comparison to how much you're gonna spend on a guitar, I mean, $150 for a dehumidifier, it's basically change, And in the summer, sometimes you end up the dehumidifier sucks up the air, and then turns it into water, basically. Gets the air out and turns the water. You just empty the buckets. So that's another way to keep your guitar from swelling up, the action, getting lower, buzzing, and things like that.
No, you're absolutely right, man. And that's kind of the smallest environment you can control is a guitar case. Like I know it's not cool to have your guitar in the case. I want to look at it. Okay, cool. Look at it with a crack, or put it in the guitar case. So
right.
I think that's fine, man. Like dude, I'm gonna tell you the truth, man. My floors are concrete, and I didn't finish them right, and I probably should have. And when the humidity drops, dude, like I got humidifiers going, but if clients are coming in and out that door,
right,
and it's a day where it's like 25-28% humidity, dude, my humidifier is running, but my humidity is dropping, dude. I take buckets of water and just, I mean, the guys who see me do it, throw it on the floor because I don't care, because it's a concrete floor, and concrete's like a sponge, and it literally sucks up 5 gallons of water, and then I'm good for like a week.
Right. And it's really, really important too to keep to try and keep the environment at a good level too, because players will take out the guitar out of the case for 4 hours, let's say, because they're gonna practice for 4 or 5 hours in a row sometimes. So the guitar's outside of the case. So if at all possible, try and get a little humidifier. I mean, they're like $40 on Amazon, $30-$40. Keep it in the room where you're gonna keep your guitar, and keep the the humidity level there as close to 45 as you can get it consistently.
Yeah. Humidity messes with action. I just read this list, and it was talking about most common repair. Is probably just letting the guitar hang out here for a while and get humidified.
Yeah.
There was what was it, Chuck? It was a Martin guitar that came in. It was a real nice HD 28, real nice steel string. That one had a Sitka top. No, it had an Addy top, so Adirondack top, and it was rosewood backside. It's a nice instrument. So anyways, the guy said, "Hey man, I'm bringing it for a setup." He wasn't complaining about buzzing or anything. So I'm looking at the instrument, and I was telling Chuck, I said, "Hey," I said, "do you see the top of the guitar? How there's like you can see kind of ripples and grains in it?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I said, "The guitar is super dehumidified." I
Right.
said, "It's missing moisture." I said, "I can look across the top. I can run my fingers across, and you can feel every little bump in the grain."
Yeah.
And that's because the soft fiber is shrinking. So we went ahead and did a setup. And I said, "But it's going to change." And then it hang out here a couple of days. We finalized the setup on it. But yeah, it's you can go up and down, with humidity.
Right. And if, if I'm talking too much, Abraham, stop me.
I
But
don't care.
classical guitars are really, I mean, they're pretty fragile. So a lot of times people will think it's the guitar that's having the issue, that maybe it wasn't built properly, but it's really the people didn't take care of it.
Yeah, there's a cost of ownership to a nice instrument. You take a luxury vehicle to the mechanic, it's going to cost more than getting whatever other vehicle worked on. And it's the same thing where the classical guitar specifically, or in now the steel string world as well,
Yeah.
the finer the instrument, it's really delicate, like, because all these tolerances were thought about, and they were made to run a specific way at a specific humidity level. So you got the one variable that the luthier can't control is the environment, like you're saying. So the guy shops 45%, whatever, and then the guitar is living in Arizona now. I mean, it's
Right.
going to play a lot differently, and sometimes, maybe, I don't know if you do, but I know in luthiers that will alter the humidity if they can while they're making that specific instrument for a specific environment a little bit.
Right.
Like when I was in school, I had a guitar that was built in Ecuador. It was built in a non-humidified shop. It was probably built, I know it was another guy shop down there. It was basically a hut that he made it in. And I could not keep that guitar wet enough. That thing dipped near 50%. I mean, it would just crack. Yeah. All right, Abraham, what else we got, boss?
I hate to interrupt you guys, but I think I saw Mr. Manuel Rodriguez having a question.
Yeah. Thank
Sure.
you. Thank you, Evan. Yeah, Gabriel, speaking about humidifiers, so I have this little room I've been teaching in with COVID, and I keep I have this little guy over here constantly running. I don't know if you can see there.
I'm scrolling through.
Oh, yeah, well, I just have a small humidifier down there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because it reads. So I teach guitar from like 8 to 4, and then I practice a couple hours. So I keep my guitar out a lot, and I've been trying to make sure it's healthy. Like usually I have my guitar right next to me over here, and it's funny because I have this hygrometer here, and over there in the humidifier it says 60%. Here says 31 right now.
Oh my gosh, that's a big difference. That's a big spread, man.
Yeah, and I wonder if there's something wrong with the humidifier I bought, because over there, even the carpet's getting wet, And over here, the guitar so far is good, and I have the case there because I'll try to humidify it here and there. But I'm wondering maybe to move the humidifier like right where the case is and that piano bench, maybe put it there, but I'm afraid it might, like be too close and do something to it while I'm teaching. So what do you recommend I do?
Do you have your doors open or closed?
No, I try to keep it, I keep it closed, and I have a vent up here.
Yeah, if anything, one of those humidifiers is off. So I would say bring a third, and maybe you can like just do an odds or something. Yeah, but one humidifier in that room, as long as it's running and circulating, it's going to humidify that room fine, especially the doors closed. I had an old student text me the other day, and she's like, "Hey, I think my guitar is getting dry." She's like, "I'm going to do a setup." So she adjusted the truss rod, and I said, "Well, do you leave it in the case? And she's like, no, I leave it on the stand. I like to look at it. And I was like, okay. I said, well, move it to whatever room your shower is in, and then let the guitar just live in that room. So, if your shower's in your bedroom, kind of let it hang out on that side. And that, depending on, right now we're a little on the drier side. But I told her, I was like, yeah, just let the guitar just live in there and just kind of get some humidity. But dude, you're totally fine, man. If anything, I think the one on your stand is off.
Yeah, maybe. And I don't know if you've used this one before, Accurite, but it's kind of old, and I might have to double check.
Man, I think that's a brand that I had that was wrong. Let me see. Hang on. It's telling me I have 99% humidity right now. I have one of those trash ones. Okay, so never buy. We got two. We just confirmed this. Never buy these junk Accurite tuners. Don't do it. See, now it says 53%, but the one that's calibrated is telling me that I'm 50% right now. So that's pretty good.
And I have another question. Yeah, I have this small one here. This one's in my case, and it's UC47 inside the case. But I just have humidities all over the place here. But the other question I have is about the type of water to use, because a lot of people say use the distilled water, and I just think that's to avoid mineral buildup in the humidifier. I don't know if that would affect the guitar.
Mine runs on filters. Like I have, it's like this big tank that kind of dribbles onto a filter thing, and you're supposed to use humidify because of mineral buildup. I change the filters, monthly, so I don't care about mineral buildup. I just use sink water, man. I sometimes I do drop a little bit of an essential oil in there just because I like the smell.
Okay. Yeah, and what would you recommend? Because I bought the little one I showed you down here. I call them R2D2. This one, I didn't like it so much. And it's a smart humidifier, right? So I always have it around 60-ish, because, I mean, I live in El Paso. It's a desert over here.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
But, is there any other you would recommend that is also a smart humidifier like this for a small room like this one?
No, I mean, I think that's good, man. Unless you want to go spend money, I think you're set up well. I use a Honeywell, and it has 3 fan settings. It has like slow, and then medium, fast. But I do have a humidifier that I trust. So I do that. So I got to walk over and stuff and move it around. But yeah, no, I think you're okay, man. As long as your filter's clean. That is a problem sometimes where I do get mineral buildup, and my humidifier is running. I got water in the tank, but the actual thing is not absorbing the moisture to humidify out because I have mineral buildup. So I mean, but that was like, dude, like I had a couple months on that filter. And so now I just dude, I buy them by packs of 5 and I throw them away when they're gross.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Cool, man. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Awesome. Is there any other question from our community that anybody wants to ask, either here or on the chat?
Hey, Gabe?
Yes, sir.
Hey, man, just wanted to say great job, and I really like your shop.
Thanks, man.
And I just wanted to know how you've been doing in this pandemic. Have you been changing the way you do business or all that stuff?
Yeah, man. Good, man. Yeah, Aaron's a great guy, man. We haven't shook hands in a long time, dude. But no, man, if you don't know Aaron, you should know Aaron. Aaron's a great luthier, a well-versed, hell of a guitarist as well. Good around all, good person, man. So, good people. I say good people, but I don't know if that's a real thing or it might be a Texas thing, but I think you know what I'm talking about. Like, oh yeah, man, so-and-so, yeah, just good people. Or it might be like a gangster thing. So I'm originally from Houston, and my first car I made, it was a 1962 Chevy 2. So the way I found that car was my dad has a commercial construction company. So I was driving a bulldozer and we're clearing a field and there was this car in the middle of the field. And so later on, it's like, Dad, there's this car over there. So a couple of weeks go by and Dad's like, hey, dude, picks me up from school. Got you a car. I'm like, oh, man, what'd you get me? Ooh, what'd you get me? What'd you get me? What'd you get me? So we get home. I'm like, where's this car? And he's like, it's in the backyard. And I get back there and it's like, have you ever seen that Stephen King movie, Christine, with that car that like haunts that person? I get back there and it's that 1962 Chevy, but it is, dude, there's like trees growing around it and stuff. So I took a year and a half, remodeled it. So that was my first car. What I'm getting at is I have a little gangster thug in me. But no, Aaron, dude, business is good, man. Thank the Lord. We are doing well. It's no longer it's a we. I found myself taking on more like electric guitars and arch tops and neck resets and that kind of stuff. And I enjoy doing that. I mean, I really like doing those as well. But you know, specifically in Dallas, there's a lot of really good shops and there's a lot of really good players and disposable income. So there's a good flow of instruments through the door. Like I was saying, Mr. Chuck Allreds, he's working with me. Chuck's great, man. He's picking up quick. I mean, I'm looking forward to really, putting some time and, he's learning, he's working, and I think he's going to be awesome. And there's this other gentleman, Ben Greenfield, like I was talking about, Roberto Van guy. He has other jobs as well. But he comes over here and puts in some hours and, it helps the projects move along. And right now, man, my books are closed. I can't take any projects on until probably the end of February. And there's people waitlisted outside of that and they're upset that they got to wait. I'm like, bro, you know how long it takes to do this? I mean, this is not like a 10-minute job. But it's good, man. With the whole COVID thing, I think the way I approached the COVID thing was, if I was going to be in lockdown, I can't sit still. So I went ahead and contacted some freelancers and I got some branding. So that's me. We got swag now. So I'm rocking a hoodie. I don't know if you can see my hoodie. Look at that. So that kind of stuff. Look at that. I got a shirt on. So I didn't dress like this because of this interview thing. This is just how I normally really dress. Because it's a Carhartt hoodie and it's really stinking comfortable. So I enjoy hoodie season. But yeah, man. So if you buy a guitar from me, I give you a shirt. So it might be an incentive.
Alrighty, everybody. Well, if there is no other questions, I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining us to this talk. It was very interesting. You can always follow on Instagram Gabriel. I know he's super happy to answer any of your questions. And please join us next Monday because now is Mr. Aaron Ringo's turn to show us what is his philosophy of building. He's a great luthier. He's a great gentleman. We know each other for a very, very long time. So we're very excited to hear from him and hear what he has to offer to the community. He's a great guy. So please join us next Monday. Gabriel, thank you so much for doing this for us, for helping the community, because I know there are a lot of questions and we just don't know who to ask. And now we know that either you, Ivan, or Aaron Ringo are always open for us to come in and ask all these questions. And I am just very thankful for that.
Hey, I'm putting my Instagram handle. So I'm at the Fixer Man. And so you can find me on Instagram. I used to post more than I do now. Like I kind of got bored of it. So every couple of weeks I'll throw something up. And here's my website. And then I'll hang up after that. All right, guys. Thank you, man. If you need to get a hold of me, man, just shoot me an email. I got a website. All that good stuff's at Gabriel Hoyos, at the Fixer Man. Okay, man. Thank you guys so much, man. I appreciate it.
And I just wanted to say that Gabriel also donated his fee of the talk for the next performers or the next concert. So thank you so much, Gabriel, for doing that for us and for supporting the society. I really appreciate that.
It was quite a purse that I
It was quite a purse, yeah, but yeah,
no, man,
I
dude,
appreciate that.
I'm about this, man. Like, look, anybody who wants to get out there and do the legwork and push guitar in the community, you don't say no to that. You know, like Abraham's a great guy, and I wish him success, and I wish everybody on this call success. You know, like right now, these are, you know, quote, difficult times, but I think we got to all be human and supportive of each other. And, you know, Abraham called me. I was like, dude, I didn't even think about it. And I was like, yeah, what time to be there, man? Like, I would love to just kind of chit chat guitar. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, everybody, we'll see you next Monday. Please share, spread the voice. We want to see more people joining us this call. So we'll see you next Monday for Aaron Ringo's call. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
See you again.
Bye-bye.